two-time Elite Series champion from Newport, New York, Jamie the Hammer Herdman. All the way from Japan, 0.
Alright everyone, I'm going to do a little recap of the Elite Series event on Santee Cooper last week. Probably seen by the results, or seen the results by now, and I had a pretty decent tournament, ended up in 10th place. And the place is really good lake, really big fish, but it wasn't easy. I had gone there in pre-practice a month and a half ago and got around the lake, you know, quite a bit. I think I was there for 7-8 days. Obviously it was a lot different now. I figured that, but I found a lot of offshore stuff in that time, and the first day of practice it was really cold when we got down there, and I immediately ran out and checked some of that offshore stuff the first day of practice, and there was a whole bunch of big fish on pretty much all of it that I checked. So I was pretty excited about that, but looking at the forecast, I was not very optimistic that that would hold up. So I kind of fought the urge to look for more of that stuff, and I pretty much went shallow, fishing cypress trees, looking for spawning areas, looking for actual fish spawning, because I figured if I found some of that stuff, that was more what was going to play that week. So, and that's what turned out happening, you know, to be the truth. So after the 3 days of practice, I had found a few areas that I felt really, like 3 or 4 areas that I felt like I could maybe go catch some on beds if they moved up. And I saw a few small ones on beds, no big ones. Saw some big ones cruising around, but nothing really even that I think I could have even caught in practice. And then I got some bites on cypress trees. So the first day the tournament rolled around, I started out on the deeper stuff, and it wasn't happening. I bailed on that pretty quick, and I went to a row of trees, and I caught 2 pretty quick. You know, not big ones, but like 2.5 pounders to kind of get me going. And then the next probably 4 hours I fished trees, and I never caught another fish. I lost 1 small keeper, but never caught another fish for the box. So I bailed on that, and I ran into a little pocket that I knew other people would be fishing, and there was people in there, and it was a little windy, so I thought maybe they would miss some of the fish on beds. And right away when I got in there, I found a nice one, caught it, and kind of stuck around in there for a couple hours. I didn't have a lot of time to fish, maybe 2.5 hours to fish. But I stuck around in there for a couple hours. I ended up catching my limit and culling 1 time, I believe. And I had like 13.5 pounds. 3 nice fish, like 3 of them around 3 pounds, and then a couple, you know, 2.5 pounders. So I'll put a couple of them catches up. It was really weird. Like I couldn't catch them on my traditional stuff for bed fishing, you know, a big bite fighting frog. I throw that a lot. I throw a heavy drop shot a lot, and I couldn't really catch them on that very well. I ended up catching pretty much everything that day that I sight fished on a Ned rig, which was I really didn't plan on throwing it at all, but that's what I ended up catching the majority of them on the first day on beds anyways. So I'll put a few of those fish catches up here quick. Check them out. It felt really good to get a limit, and honestly with 13.5 pounds I thought like, oh, that'll probably be decent, you know, I'll be outside the cut, but I'll be, you know, I might be alright, which turned out to be, you know, false obviously by the weights. But I'll put a few fish catches up here just so you can watch them. It was pretty fun. I was pretty excited to get a limit, so here those catches are. So after I had, after I got that limit, I had probably maybe 20 minutes to fish, maybe a half hour to fish. And I thought, I was thinking about this one particular offshore spot that I didn't catch him in the morning, but it was in the back of my mind that it just was situated really in an ideal spot to where if there was fish moving in or out, they would maybe stop on it. So I thought, all right, I'm going to take a gamble, go try it again. Just that one spot and see if something's moved in on it. So I ran out of where I was at, and it wasn't that far away, and I get over there, put the trolling motor down, start kind of creeping up on it. I'm scanning it with the live scope, and I see a fish sitting right on top of it, you know, kind of positioned where we're higher percentage of catching them. I cast my jerk bait up there, working it out, and this fish just, it follows it all the way to the boat. And I could see kind of by how the fish was swimming, you know, it was definitely a big fish, but I wasn't certain that it was a bass. I didn't know if it was a striper, I didn't know if it was a catfish. But anyhow, the fish, it followed it all the way to the boat, it never bit. And usually when that happens, that fish is kind of done. You know, they don't go back to the cover. You just, you know, you gotta hope there's another one up there, or come back later, maybe it gets back on there. So I take another cast, I'm working the bait out, and I see the fish on the live scope swimming back to the brush pile. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. You know, maybe it is a bass. Work the bait in, make another cast, and I couldn't. It was a little bit far away for me to see my bait on the live scope to see exactly where I was at. But either way, I get a bite, and you can kind of see in the video I wasn't, like, I kind of gave it like kind of a double hook set. I didn't know if I had snagged the brush or if it was a fish, and then I figured, okay, it's a fish, but you can kind of tell by my body language I wasn't so sure that it was a bass, just the way it was fighting. It kind of came to it was heavy, but it came to the boat kind of easy, and then it started fighting really hard, and then it jumped out of the water, and I saw, I'm like, oh my god, that's a giant one. I gotta get it in the boat. So I'll put this clip up, and you can see it. It's a pretty cool fish catch. It definitely was a big turning point in the day. So I'll put that up, check it out. So I caught that fish, ended up weighing like 7 pounds 4 ounces. So it bumped me up to, you know, close to 19 pounds, which was, I mean, that was huge, huge, huge call. Pretty much after I caught that fish, I had to run back. I think I stopped one more time, made a couple casts, ran back to weigh in, made it back with about 3 minutes to spare, and weighed in. I had 18.12. I think I was sitting in like I think I was in like 25th place. So, you know, not bad, but I knew the next day I had to make some adjustments because I didn't really want to go back into that spawning pocket because it had been beat on, and obviously there was fish moving. There probably was some more fish caught back there, but there was just so many people. I only honestly saw one big one back there, like 5 to 7 pounder. The rest of them were just males. Not that there wasn't big ones in there, but I just didn't see any. So I kind of, in my mind, I gotta stop out on that brush and fish it. I caught a big one. I just gotta fish it for 20 minutes, half hour. And then in my mind I had to make the decision, am I gonna make a long run to the lower lake and kind of gamble on what I saw in practice and hope that it kind of materialized into what I thought was gonna happen, which move up, you know, the fish move up on beds, and hope that there wasn't a lot of other competitors around? Or do I just kind of stick it out in that area and grind out what I can grind out and hopefully make the day 3 cut? So I go out, I stop on the brush. I caught a keeper right away, like a decent one, 2 3/4 pounder, and fished the other 5 or 6 spots, didn't get anything. And then in my mind I was like, you know what? I'm gambling. I'm running all the way down to the lower lake. I'm going to get in there and I'm just going to see what happens. And it was probably a half-hour run from where I was. You know, there's no wake, and there's, you know, Santee Cooper's weird because you can't just run around on it. There's basically boat lanes you have to stay in. Otherwise, it's just all timber. So I run down there. I fish a couple brush piles, catch a small keeper, like a 1.5-pounder, and it was probably 10 o'clock, 10:30. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get back into that spawning area, not knowing who was going to be in there. So I get in there and there's no other competitors. There's just some locals in there fishing. And I kind of get to the one part of it that in practice I felt like if they moved up, that would be one of the key spots. And it's a big area. But I'm like, they're definitely going to spawn here. And I pulled up and it was within 5 minutes. I saw 4 big ones. And in my mind, and I told my Marshall, I'm like, there's 30 pounds of fish in those 4 fish. I guarantee you. So I kind of locked down right there. I mean, I stayed in probably a 30-40 yard radius the rest of the day because I knew if I caught these fish, I would be sitting good. And I didn't catch any big ones in there right away, but I caught, you know, 13.5 pounds. But I saw the one, you know, I figured was between 8 and 10. I saw 2 other ones I figured between 7 and 8. Another one that was between 5 and 7. And I kind of fished around. And once I had that limit, it's like, I've got like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours to get these other ones to bite. And it was probably about maybe 12:30 it started happening. And I'll put a clip up here of an absolute giant one that I had been looking at for several hours, and I finally got it to bite. So I'll put that up here and see how it kind of played out.
Baby, I told you it was that good. Oh, dude, I told you it was that big.
You want to get a photo of that?
Holy balls, dude. That's like a canoe.
It is a
Oh, fuck yeah. Fucking tube, baby.
I gotta get a new.
No, I don't. Oh, we're fishing tomorrow.
Is it geared? Yeah, understatement of the day.
So I got that one in the boat. That one ended up weighing 9 pounds 10 ounces. Absolute giant. Like I said, I've been watching it for several hours and just waiting for it to get right. Finally got it to bite, got it in the boat. So then I was like, all right, I've got 20 pounds. Like, I definitely will make the cut. So I was kind of relieved. But then it was like, I got to get these other ones. If I get these other ones, I'm going to be way up there. And I slid over to another bed that had 2 giant ones on it and another like 3-pound male. And I just power poled down, and power poles were absolutely critical in what I was doing. Power poled down, and I just fished for those fish and kind of committed to, like, I've got a couple hours to get one of these or 2 of these to bite. And took me a little while, maybe 15-20 minutes, and I caught the male, which was a decent one. It helped me. And then it was, I thought it was a while longer, but after watching the footage, it was like 5 minutes later, I hook another one, and it's a giant one. Get that thing in the boat, and you know, it was over 7 pounds. So I'll put that clip up too. It's pretty cool. I was pretty excited. Marshall was pretty excited, so I'll put that up quick so you can check that out.
I was there the first time that Plum won. When Hackman came in second.
Boom! Boom!
Holy shit. Ready?
Yeah.
Here, I'm gonna give up my
Told you. Yeah.
plus. Ready?
So I got that one in the boat. That was, I think, 7 pounds 3 ounces, 7 pounds 4 ounces. So that bumped me up to, you know, 25, 26 pounds. I still had time, and I'm like, I'm going to catch this other one. Because it seemed like the key for me getting those bigger fish all week was, like, I had to catch the male first. Once I caught the male off the bed, and it was the same thing when I was in Florida, which a lot of the other guys say they don't want to do that. But for me, it seemed like I had to catch the male in order to get the female to bite. So I already got the one male off there, caught one of the big females. Like, I can catch this other female too, because it was the same size. And couldn't get it to bite. Slid over to the other one that I had been watching, actually the first one that I saw. Put the power poles down, and it was acting right. I'm like, I can catch this one. Fished it for maybe 5 minutes, and ended up breaking it off. And I'm going to put the clip on there because, you know, people are like, well, is it bad line, bad line? It was, like, I broke off 3 times in the event, and it was my knot. Like, I had been tying this jam knot or shark knot, whatever you want to call it, and I have had good luck with it over the last year or two. And it was the knot was failing, because the third day I broke off too, and once I switched back to a Palmer, I never had a problem. But I got this fish to bite, and the way they were biting that particular bait, it was a discontinued big bite bait, a big bite tube. And when they bit it, like, I could tell when it was a big one when they bit it, the way they were inhaling it. And I knew when it bit it was the big one. I set the hook, broke on the hook set, and I was bummed. I was sitting down, and if you look in the background, you'll see the fish jump and throw the tube. So that was kind of devastating because, you know, say that fish was 6 pounds, which I really think it was. I mean, I would have gained over 3 pounds. I'd have had close to 30 pounds for the day. But I didn't get it. If I'd have had another 10 minutes to fish, I probably could have got it to bite again. But I'll put that clip up just so you can see that no matter what level you're fishing at, you know, you can do things wrong. Tying a bad knot is one of them you don't want to do wrong. So I'll put that up quick so you can see the heartbreak. So I broke that fish off, and I had a little while to fish, but it was a long run back. And with that bag, I just wanted to make sure I got back. I fished for maybe 15 more minutes, and and then left because I thought, well, I'll probably fish tomorrow. I know there's 2 more big ones right here. If the locals don't get in there and yank them all out of there, which happened often, I might be able to get them. So ran back, make it back in fine, end up weighing 26 pounds 4 ounces. I moved up to 5th place and in good position to, you know, I felt like I could have a good day on day 3 too, just because of what I had seen. So I was pretty optimistic, and took off the next day, day 3. We actually got delayed the next day because of the weather, so it kind of got pushed back another 2 days. So we were fishing on Sunday for the 3rd day, which is usually the championship day. So I had a camera guy in the boat, and I had thought about it all the day before. Do I start out on the brush? Do I go right to where I had caught them? And I just decided I got to go back to where I saw those big ones and caught them, because I don't know who else is going to be in there. You know, them locals were just relentless. I mean, a lot of them were good, but I had one particular person. I'll probably put a clip up of what he did to me, just so you can kind of see what we were dealing with. And I'm not the guy to say, like, they shouldn't be out fishing. You know, it's a public lake. You should be able to fish wherever you want. But there was some stuff going on that was just so blatantly disrespectful. It was, I could never do it to anybody. It was bad. So I'll get into that once I get to showing the footage. But I ran in there, went to the area that I had caught. It was a super rough ride down there. It took a long time. I mean, it was brutal. Broke my front locator, blew all the bushings out of the trolling motor. One of the worst rides I've ever been on in a boat. So got down there, went right to the area where I'd caught them. On day 2, it was kind of windy. I couldn't see very well. I caught one, like, I don't know, decent one, 3.5 pounder. And then I started to panic a little bit, because I hadn't been around the area a lot, because I stayed in that one little section pretty much all day the 2nd day. So I started like, do I go run some other areas? Do I stay in here? So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go zip around with the trolling motor, see if I can find anything else in this bay. And right away I found another section where they were fresh ones, you know, big obvious beds, and I caught three pretty quick, nice ones, you know, 3.5 pounders. And I was working, so it's a big bay, and there was this guy way in the back, way away from me, nowhere near me. I wasn't concerned at all about what he was doing, because he was so far away from me. And he seen me working up this stretch and catching them. And you'll see in the video, I'll try to put the stuff in there so you can see what he did. He like seen me working up, catching them, and putting power poles down and just kind of working up this edge. And he like puts it on high bypass and cuts right in front of where I was going. And I seen he was throwing a frog, and I seen him look, and he put the power poles down. And I knew he had seen one. But he was just sitting there throwing his frog like, oh, I'm just throwing my frog. And he waited for me to get about 30 yards away from him. And he picked up his flipping rod, made one pitch into this bed, and catches this big one. And then, to top it off, he puts it in his live well. And I asked him, I'm like, you fishing a tournament? He's, oh yeah, I'm fishing a tournament. But then he never fished anymore. He just put it in the live well, and trolling motor muddied everything up, and kind of worked over and started talking to his buddy. Never fished again. So it's like, he has the right to fish. I would never say that, but to do that was, my camera guy was like, he couldn't believe it. He's like, what did that guy? He's like, I think he did that. I said, I know he did that on purpose. He wanted to be on the camera and show everybody how cool he was. And at that time I only had 4 fish, and it was a big one. I mean, it was a 4.5, 5+ pounder is what it looked like. I mean, I was really close to it, so kind of bummed. I'll put that clip up and kind of put it together so you can kind of see what happened and kind of what we were dealing with out there with some of the locals. Most of them were great. They would stay away from you, really respect you, but this guy was not one of the ones that did that. So I'm going to kind of put that up, put some fish catches up, and in the fish catches, kind of pay attention in the background. You'll see a white and red nitro boat way back in the distance, way away from me, and then as I work up closer, you'll see him kick that trolling motor down and cut me off and catch that fish. So I'm going to put that stuff up so you can kind of see what happened in the morning of day 3. So after the Jim Jack kind of cut me off, did that to me, I had 4 fish for like 13.5 pounds, and I worked up kind of past where he was, caught my 5th one, which was a 4-pounder, a good one. So I had like close to 18 pounds. I'm like, all right, and it was fairly early, 10:30, 11 maybe. And in the process of fishing around in the morning there, I saw probably 3 other big ones, like 6 to 7 pounders. And I kind of fished all over in the bay. I think I called one other time, caught a nice one, and had, you know, like I said, whatever, 18 pounds. And then I start kind of looping back, and I see a big one, and like a big one with a male, and I had seen it earlier and honestly kind of forgotten about it, but I had marked it, and so I kind of get set up on it and trying to read what's going on. Took me a little while, and I caught the male, and which didn't help me. It was, you know, a 2.5 pounder, and then I just kind of stuck around and waited for that female to kind of settle in, and kept fishing it, figuring out where the sweet spot was on the bed, and then I finally got my bait in to the bed, and I seen it react and kind of posture towards it a little bit, and seen its fins really start moving. So I knew within a few inches of where the sweet spot was, and I told my camera guy, I'm like, I'm going to catch this thing within the next 5 minutes because it's getting ready to go. And maybe 3 casts later, I hook it, and this is kind of what happened. This was kind of the turning point of day 3, in my opinion. So this is what happened.
Yeah, baby. Oh, look at that. I told you that was the spot, baby. Oh, that's Bill. That's Bill himself. Yes. Oh, dude. I feel like I can sight fish. Do I know what I'm doing, or I probably got lucky? Oh, dude, that's gotta be 6. Oh my God, I'm shaking. Gotta be 6, dude. It's almost 7. I told you it was a big one. this other one, and we might be able to fish tomorrow. I want to fish so bad tomorrow.
So I caught that one, and it ended up being 6 3/4 pounds on my scale. It only ended up weighing 6.6 on the scale at weigh-in, which was, or 6.10, whatever. It was 6 3/4 pounder. Bumped me up to 22 pounds. So that, I mean, I was jacked. You can see in the video. I mean, I was pumped. Like, that was the bite I needed to feel like I had a chance of making it to day 4. I felt like I needed to get 20 pounds to have a chance, and that gave me like 22. And I still had some time to fish, and I had another bed that had one that was probably 5.5 to 7 pounds on it, with the male that was probably 4 or 5, and then I had just seen another one right before I caught that one. That one was big. That one was definitely over 7. So I thought, I can catch one of these other ones and I'll have another, I'll have 24, 25 pounds. Never did get one of them to bite. And like I said before, the weather was kind of rough. So I left early to get back because I had a good bag. It was a long run, rough water. I had already broken a bunch of stuff on the boat. So we got back probably a half hour, 40 minutes early, and I fished around a little bit. I think I caught one that didn't help me, and ended up weighing in 22 pounds, 6 ounces, somewhere around there, and I settled in to day 4. I went out in 7th place. So it was really cool because I had never made a final day before. Granted, I haven't been, doing it very long, but it was the first time I made a top 10. Super excited. Had the camera guy again. And, day 4 was just a struggle. The morning was colder, and I went right back to that same area, and the fish were just funky. They weren't locked on beds. I think I caught a nice, like a 3.5 pounder right away. Another small keeper. Lost a 2 pounder. And honestly, I was fishing kind of aggressive. Like, I knew I had to catch big ones to make up any ground. So I was passing up not several, but a handful of fish that I think I could have caught just because I didn't think they were that big. And I needed, to get 4 or 5 pounders to make any ground up. So that day I ended up fishing a bunch of new water, trying to find a new section that had some fresh ones that moved up. On the way back, I stopped on a brush pile, caught a nice one on a jerkbait, lost a really nice one on a jerkbait, and then I caught my 4th keeper right at the end of the day, right by takeoff, and I ended up with like just under 11 pounds, and I actually fell down to 10th place. So finished the tournament in 10th place, which it was disappointing to fall 3 spots, but once again, I fished fairly aggressive to maybe try to have something miraculous happen and stumble into an area like I did on day 2 where there's just giants sitting there, and you could, maybe I could catch 30 pounds and make a run at it. So that's kind of how I fished, and unfortunately it didn't work out, but it's still a great tournament. Love the bodies, love that lake. I mean, big fish. It was just really fun to fish there. The atmosphere of day 4 was really cool, to just be there with 9 other boats, and the way it was just really neat. I really would like to get back there again, obviously. So overall, good tournament. Two decent tournaments in a row to kind of get me going back the right direction. I think I'm in 35th in points, which is way better than where I started in 80th. Still not where where I need to be, in my opinion, but I'm climbing out of the hole. I'm digging myself out. So that's kind of the rundown. I leave here in a few days to go to Chickamauga for the 4th stop, so hopefully that works out. And yeah, make sure you subscribe and keep following along. I appreciate all the support, all the messages. Having a lot of fun, fishing, traveling, doing these little recap videos. It's really fun to look back at the footage and see some of them fish catches and see what actually happened. So I'll keep doing them as best I can. I know they're not great professional quality, but to me it's cool to see the story unfold in person, and on video. So I appreciate it. Do another recap after Chickamauga, regardless of how it shakes out. So I appreciate the support.